Today's episode of America's Hometown Horror is brought to you by Shine Through Window Cleaning. That's right, Shine Through Window Cleaning is back for a second episode in a row to sponsor us. Thank you, Shine Through. Shine Through is a family-owned and operated company proudly serving Plymouth and the surrounding area. We treat your home or business like we would treat our own and believe in building our reputation on every job we do. Get in touch with us today to discuss your window cleaning, gutter cleaning, and power washing needs at 781-812-9189. That's 781-812-9189. Or at shinethroughinc.net. That's Shine, T-H-R-U, Window Cleaning. Shine Through Window Cleaning. What's up, everybody? My name is Mike, and welcome to another episode of America's Hometown Horror. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you checked out our first episode on Krampus, we are back for another week. Thanks again for listening. And I am joined by my co-hosts, as always, Andrew.
What's up, you knobs?
And Kat.
Hey!
We are here tonight, you guys, to talk about one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And I think when we were sitting down talking about creating this podcast at a local Chinese food establishment over by the Plymouth airport, over Mai Tais and Scorpion Bowls. Red Tea Garden.
Yes, in the radius.
I suppose there's no need to not drop the name. Awesome establishment. Check it out if you're local. When we were talking about doing this podcast, this was one of the movies that I was the most excited to talk about, just because there's so much to get into. We couldn't even cover all of it if we did a 4-hour podcast, and I'm just excited to talk about it for a little while today, and that, of course, is The Shining. The Shining is an all-time classic, considered to be one of the greatest horror films ever made, and we're going to break all that down for you, talk about a bunch of random things in the movie, Easter eggs, scenes, casting what-ifs, all of that stuff. But before we get into that, we're going to quick hit a few different horror items that we've either been watching since the last episode dropped, trailers that have come out, and a couple other things before we jump into The Shining. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the second season of Castle Rock on Hulu.
Can't remember.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with Castle Rock is a show that takes place in the Stephen King universe, if you will, but it doesn't necessarily adapt a straight Kevin Sting. That's a better name, actually. I think I like that better. It adapts. It doesn't adapt a particular Kevin Sting story. It takes all the characters from Stephen King's books and puts them into the town of Castle Rock, which is
essentially hell.
Yes,
Pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first season was about it had Shawshank State Prison in there. It had a bunch of different random characters from some Stephen King novels. I almost keep saying Kevin Sting.
Well, could you keep saying it, so now you're just going to want to keep going. Kevin Sting.
Nice, yeah.
We don't mind speech impediments and stuff.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. Hey, judgment-free zone. But so the first season was okay. Wasn't great. What did you think of the first season?
I was going to say, the first season, I thought it was interesting enough. It was based on Pet Sematary, correct?
No. So it wasn't.
What was it?
So it had characters from. It had
little
Needful
Easter
Things.
eggs from
It had
everything.
Shawshank Prison in there, which is from the Shawshank Redemption, which is one of his short stories. But it didn't adapt a straight Stephen King story. It took elements from several.
Right.
But it didn't adapt like one particular story.
But the one thing that stands out is that actor who was the
Skarsgård.
Yeah, absolutely. Skarsgård. So that's one of the things that they kind of drop in there as an Easter egg. So J.J. Abrams makes that show, and he loves Easter eggs and callbacks. But, there's Bill Skarsgård from It.
From
He
It.
plays
Yeah,
Pennywise.
he plays Pennywise in the second
He's
one.
one of the main characters.
And
For sure, the Warden has been in a bunch of Stephen King things.
Yeah, there's a bunch of characters that are in there, and that theme actually continues through season 2.
But he's such a visual actor that you look at him and even with no makeup on as Pennywise, he's terrifying in a weird way. Like, he just has this little aura about him. What?
You wouldn't kiss him while his eyes are sideways?
No, I wouldn't kiss him at all. He's a weirdo. Oh my god, did you see him? Have you seen him as...
I've never seen
you
him.
didn't...
What you should look up... Go ahead. Sorry.
I was like, you saw Castle Rock when he was in there with the hooded thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
He's just like he's a weird-looking dude.
He's a creepy-looking guy. Yeah, I agree. I was joking.
Have either of you guys seen the test footage that he did when he was trying out for Pennywise, where he's doing the Pennywise voice with no makeup on, and he's making just the facial expressions?
Is this the Bill Hader story about him?
No, I don't think so. There's actually the audition tape on YouTube. If you look it up, it's him doing the Pennywise voice, and it's the weirdest thing to see him doing it with no makeup on. It's fucking nuts. So
he
yes,
actually makes those eyes too. Like he does.
Yeah.
That's
the
Bill Hader.
Yeah.
Bill Hader was like, how did they? What kind of CGI
So
did they use?
I feel like his face is almost as expressive as Jack Nicholson's, which is relevant to today. I feel like we'll talk about that quite a bit as we keep going.
A lot.
But he's in season 1 of Castle Rock, and season 2 casts a couple of actors that have been in Stephen King things before. So Tim Robbins in it. Obviously, he was in The Shawshank Redemption. And then, who the hell else in it? I'm drawing a blank right now. But there's a few different people. So this one takes inspiration from a couple of different stories. So Salem's Lot, which is one of my favorite King books, right there behind The Shining and It. Actually, I think I actually like it more than It.
I'll take your word for it.
Salem's Lot, it's like a modern retelling of the Dracula story. Stephen King has said before, like literally... he was sitting there one day, like, having breakfast and talking to his wife and said, what do you think would happen if Dracula was dropped into the middle of modern-day New York City? And his wife said that he would probably get hit by a car trying to cross the street or something like that. So that's where I got the inspiration to write Salem's Lot. So that book's awesome. The original series, the Tobe Hooper series with Nosferatu-looking vampires, awesome too. Castle Rock in the Stephen King universe takes place... near Salem's Lot, so that's obviously in this season. And then the big connection to the King universe is Annie Wilkes from Misery, who's played by Lizzie Kaplan, and I mean she has just done a phenomenal job this season of, I don't want to say emulating Kathy Bates from the movie, but she does a damn good impression and a damn good, portrayal of that character, I think. What about you?
So, I haven't actually seen Misery, and Mike was explaining it to me as we went on watching it. So, I found out about the background of Misery and everything pretty recently after I finished watching Castle Rock. So, it was kind of interesting to see...
Have you watched Misery yet?
No, I still haven't watched it. But I will, at some point.
You're busy.
It's a great movie.
I'm busy.
Contains one of the all-time disgusting movie scenes.
Yeah, we won't get into it. I don't want to...
No, I don't want to... I don't know.
Yeah, that like when you see it,
it's just painful.
I'll
hurts
see
you
it
to your bones.
within the next week so that you guys don't have to censor it from me anymore.
Yeah, Kathy Bates, James Caan, it's fucking
But
awesome.
I
Rob
love
Reiner directed it.
Yeah, I need
really,
to see
really
it.
good.
Excellent movie.
Yeah.
I like Kathy Bates' portrayal better.
So obviously, Andrew, I know you haven't finished this yet. I will keep it spoiler-free for those of you that haven't either, but all the episodes are out now. This season is better than season 1, but I would still say good, not great. I thought at the beginning it was great, and then it kind of lost steam over the last few episodes.
You didn't think season 1 was great?
Well,
season 1 was good. I just feel like it was really convoluted, and like the whole multiverse aspect of it I thought was interesting, but I didn't really feel like it landed.
So if you're listening
that
to
very
yourself,
last scene where he just like turns into like a fucking demon or whatever he turns into for like a split second, and then they don't talk about it because in the last couple minutes of the episode I thought that was interesting, but okay, what the fuck does it mean? And I guess they kind of explain it a little bit in season 2 based on some of the information you find out towards the end of the season. And I thought that kind of saved the whole thing, like that connection between the two. I thought that was cool. But since you haven't seen it, I don't want to talk about it too much more because I don't want to spoil it for you.
I agree.
But the last scene of the last episode is a great little ending and foreshadowing for events to come for Annie Wilkes.
Definitely.
So, it's cool. It's cool. So definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen Castle Rock. It's on Hulu. All the episodes are streaming right now.
Well, and I don't feel like I've missed much by watching that because I haven't seen Misery, but like from what you've told me, it's almost like a prequel to it. That it's like I didn't really miss much by not seeing
this
it.
definitely it takes place before the movie,
right?
And you know, obviously, I don't know if they exist in the same universe as the movie, but it definitely is supposed to be a younger Annie Wilkes.
Oh yeah.
Before all the events of the
the
main movie,
looks
exactly.
like Kathy Bates.
Yep. So next thing I wanted to hit on real quick, really quick, because this movie's a little bit older, but I just watched it recently. And this is called The Perfection. It's on Netflix. Andrew, you've seen this. Kat, I know you haven't, but you watched the trailer. I thought this movie was fucking bananas.
Yeah, it was pretty fucked up. Very disturbing.
Yeah.
Great ending. Kind of a good... it's just good acting throughout it, so that was nice.
Do you feel like it
was a good Netflix movie. I mean, it's a Netflix movie, but it was good.
Some people were calling this the best horror movie of the year when it came out, when it dropped on Netflix back in like the spring. Yeah.
Do you feel like the trailer?
Do
you feel like the trailer ruined it? Because I feel like when I didn't watch the movie, but I watched the trailer, and I feel like
doesn't give anything away.
It doesn't give anything away. I feel like there was so much in the trailer.
So it gave some little tiny things away, but I feel like you still like having just watched it recently.
Those scenes doesn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to figure out the movie based on the trailer, but.
No.
Bloody Disgusting, when this movie like was launched at like one of those fucking festivals or somewhere fancy or something like that. Yeah, before Cannes or before it dropped on Netflix. So all the reviews came out and it was supposed to be awesome. And then I remember Bloody Disgusting wrote an article saying, hey, if you can avoid the trailers and go into this movie blind, because it's so much better if you do.
Well, I feel
but even still, like I know,
I feel like that's to be said for every movie.
Yeah, so like
trailers
I
give
know
away a lot usually.
Where it ends up, like you wouldn't be able to tell, and you should watch it. But knowing what happens and watching that, like after the fact, I'm still kind of like I'm not.
But it doesn't. I don't think it gives that much away.
Yeah, because that movie, honestly, it's so fucking fucked up. It's so nuts. You think one thing is going to happen, and then all of a sudden it's just a hard right turn.
Like if you've ever seen Old Boy, it's not like
it's
different, but it's just like mindfuck basically.
Yeah, it's very very disturbing.
Yeah,
there's a lot of weird imagery, a lot of really. Yeah,
shouldn't let children watch that.
Oh God no. Actually, you know what? What's funny? So when you scroll to it on Netflix. The logo for it, when you like click on it before you like hit like play, that's kind of like a spoiler, which is a little bit weird because it has a hand on there, which you know what that means. So I was kind of like, I had some little idea, but I was just like, okay, that's kind of weird.
Let's just continue on.
All right, next item.
What we're talking about.
Couple of movies that are coming out very soon that we'll be covering on this podcast. So as of recording, next week we are getting the Grudge remake, which is produced by Sam Raimi, has a bunch of cool actors in it, and we just watched the Red Band trailer for this as a refresher, and holy shit, I think this movie just looks so much more awesome than I even thought it would be.
Yeah.
I like the original. I don't love it personally. I know you do.
I do, yeah.
But I just think this looks so awesome.
But when you were talking about The Grudge earlier, I was disinterested because, like, all right, it was a movie.
No.
It wasn't bad, but watching the trailer, and I didn't know that Sam Raimi was doing it, so that makes it even already up 10 levels from the other one. And just the trailer alone, that movie looks fucked.
I mean, the kid from the attic that lives in... our attic that we don't go into. He lives there. Yeah, he lives in our house. Like, I still have nightmares.
You guys don't even have an attic, though.
Oh, no, we have a little crawl space. So there's like a little square thing that you move over, and that's exactly in The Grudge where this boy stood and
the boy that meows like a cat.
And like, oh my god, it was terrifying.
Everyone has an attic. It's like, you don't have a fucking...
Well, it's not like we don't put anything up there, but it's there, and in our guest room you can... move it over.
I don't think there's no need for attics. Every horror movie that involves
It's
attics.
always in
Has
an
anything
attic.
good ever happened in an attic
nothing
ever?
good's happened in an attic except for I don't know, finding clips to some fucked up snuff films or
No, but even in Krampus, the kid got eaten in the attic.
Kid gets eaten in the attic in
nothing, nothing
you
good
shouldn't have
happens
an
in
attic.
an
You
attic.
shouldn't have
Shout
a
out
basement.
episode 1. Listen, subscribe, rate and review. Woo.
Nice.
I'm gonna start a model of homes that don't have attics,
So
but they already have those.
in the original Grudge, there's
So the house, all the rooms would just go right up to the roof. Is that what you mean?
No. You just don't. There's a lot of houses where you don't have access to the top portion of the house.
Okay.
You do need
Let's-
for
let's-
ventilation.
sorry.
let's not get
purposes
into
or
detail.
something.
That's okay. You were
We
saying?
don't have a architect on hand, so.
Yeah, so I really like The Grudge. I know that I don't get to participate much, but here I am. Yeah, participating in conversation.
Shocking,
And-
actually, if you listen to season 1, episode 1, not season 1.
Season 1. Well, we're still
it
on
felt like a
season
full
1.
fucking season because it took forever to do. Just like this one's taking forever to do.
Well, hey, it's
We're
okay.
only-
I mean,
We're not very far in.
I'm having a good
so,
time. I'm having a
That's
good
why
time.
I'm terrified.
Hopefully, anyone that's made it to this point listening is having a good time too. But,
Right.
Uh,
So, can
yeah.
we get back to me
go
here?
ahead. Let's go
All right.
back to you. Yes.
So, me. I love The Grudge is one of my favorite horror movies because it scares the shit out of me still. And I still picture that kid in the attic in the crawl space that's leaning down from the attic and just going and looking at you, and I'm just like, oh my god, this kid he's gonna be forever in my home. I mean, we lived lived across the street not too long ago, and it was in a condo complex, and in our guest room we had the same crawl space with the little square, and oh my god, he lived there too. It's the same whenever you have that little tiny square crawl space thing. He lives there. He's there. This kid from The Grudge, and he's terrifying. He's so scary. Like,
Yeah,
I know-
sound like an idiot.
I know what you mean. I know what you
terrified.
mean. I know what you
I'm
mean.
terrified of him.
Certain scary things have an impact on you for the rest of your life. Like
Well-
you never look at something the same way again.
And
Excuse me, because
and it's almost like
yeah.
I'm not scared of the boy, but
I
I'm
don't
scared
like
of
going in the
like
ocean.
that. I'm scared of that crawl space, like the way that it
the
looks.
stairs that you pull down.
It's not stairs. No, it's literally like in your guest
It's
room
the shelf
closet.
you lift up.
There's a
Oh,
little
yeah.
square that's cut out,
Those
and
are
you
fucking
push it
creepy as
out,
fucking
and you
old
don't know
houses.
what's up there, and
Those,
it's
secret-
terrifying.
Secret compartments inside houses when you go in them.
Right.
Like weird, where it's just like a little fucking
Yes,
child was
and
living in
he
there.
lives there, so
Yeah.
he.
I think
I didn't know what you were fucking talking about.
in the last few years, there's been like a couple of people that have stuck their head up there. That's it. And I've only done it like a half second one time, but I don't know what the fuck's living up
should
there.
do-
Could be
No,
some guy.
I've never looked in our
We should
attic.
put a camera up there and have Kat have to keep her head up
No.
there for as long as possible and see how long she can
See how long she could last.
That would be a fear factor moment for me, for sure. I would probably cry. I would probably
What
cry.
if we just put like a box of pizza up there so at least you could be eating?
No, I wouldn't even eat because I'd be so nervous.
Alright, fair enough.
Okay, all right.
But
Well,
I'm very much looking forward to the new Grudge movie because I'm such a huge fan and how scared it made me for the first Grudge movie.
Yeah.
So this remake's going to be
Yeah.
pretty bomb. It
So
looks
enough,
the trailer looks awesome.
It's enough Grudge talk.
Yeah.
All
Last
right.
one is last one we're covering. We've seen this a couple times now. Is Underwater, which is going to be released. So the Grudge coming out on January 3rd. I don't know if I mentioned that. Underwater is coming out the next week on the 10th. This movie, I mean, it looks great, but one of my favorite horror movies of all time is Alien, and I feel like this is so clearly, I don't want to say ripping off, but is so clearly inspired by Alien. You get the kind of, grungy looking underwater vessel with these blue collar workers that are, being trapped in some bizarre situation, miles from civilization, being attacked by something that they don't know what it is. You have Kristen Stewart in there with the short haircut like Sigourney Weaver and
She
Alien.
looks like the girl from Orange is the New Black.
Which one?
The girl with
looks like a
the
fucking
short
idiot.
hair, like the really short hair and the glasses.
Oh,
I forget her name.
I don't watch the show, so I don't know. But I'm sure there is probably somebody on there like this.
There is. Yeah.
Believe it or not, this white straight male doesn't watch Orange is the New Black.
Oh
Well,
God!
a lot
How
of people
dare
do.
I?
A lot of people do. Just saying, there's a huge fan base out
I know,
there,
I know.
and
But hey, you can't watch
am
everything.
one of them.
You can't watch everything. I'm sure it's good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of white guys.
Continue. Just keep going.
But,
Move right along.
But so, if you haven't seen the trailer for this movie, it kind of reminds me, like I said, Alien. A lot of shades of Alien there, and cross between Alien and the Descent, which if you haven't seen is great. Kind of the claustrophobic feeling from that movie, combined with some sort of weird monster that they're trying to get away from. I think this looks really cool. And it's just awesome to me that there are two pretty cool horror movies being dropped in January, 2 weeks in a row. It just, it's the best time ever to be a horror fan. I feel like there's always something coming out in the movies, coming out on one of the streaming services, or something being released somewhere where
you can get
no
your horror
shortage.
fix 24/7 nowadays.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
between all the movies on Netflix and Prime and Hulu and Shudder, which I know that we all have and have used.
Shudder.
It's awesome.
You know what makes me shudder?
Yeah.
The thought of sitting in a movie theater for 2 hours looking at Kristen Stewart with her fucking mouth wide open the entire time. So I have no interest in seeing that movie. It's probably going to be awesome, but that just, to me, I'd rather stab my eyes out.
No, so you don't want to go see Underwater with me, man? You don't want to go
I'll
see
go
that?
see it, but
Would it be worth it if there was some kick-ass creature
no, they
effects
have
and some
3D
awesome
glasses.
monsters?
It'd be great if they had glasses that you could put on.
And just cuts out
Kristen Stewart and somebody else.
Wow.
Because
wow.
why anybody would cast her in a movie? She's the fucking
I like
worst.
her.
All right, so
her.
if you could replace any actress to play Kristen Stewart's part in that movie, who would it be?
French Stewart.
Who could French?
You know who,
My name's Fred.
You know who would I would rather watch, no matter how annoying she can be? I'd rather see Kat in that.
Friend.
What?
I was
Me?
not expecting
You would
that.
be
You
less
serious?
annoying than Kristen Stewart. I don't know.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is a haymaker thrown. Haymaker thrown.
I don't think.
I'm coming out swinging, baby.
Wow.
He said he hated that girl, and then that you would be less annoying than her in that role. In the
So
movie.
that's a compliment, technically.
Wow.
I guess.
Wow.
Is it really a
Co-host
compliment?
co-host abuse here. Jesus Christ.
That's too aggressive.
Andrew,
Oh,
I think
baby.
that was really harsh. I don't know if
sorry.
I deserved that.
Well,
Hey, you know what? It's okay.
you deserved it more than you think.
We're all
Wow.
just hey, we're just we all love each other here. We're just busting balls, so it's okay.
I don't have balls.
Don't you have mics? No.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Wow.
That was a good one. That was a good one. I like that.
Nice.
That was a good one.
Oh.
Now Mike's like, okay, now I gotta
Well,
talk.
We were talking about The Shining, so someone may be getting murdered with an axe tonight.
So speaking of balls and that sort of thing, on to The Shining. Guys, The Shining, if you've never heard of it, is a movie directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on a novel by Stephen King.
I thought we weren't going to
You've heard
go
of
over the
either
whole.
of those guys
I thought we
before?
weren't going over all this
I mean,
stuff.
I wouldn't
That's-
be surprised if Kat
that's-
hasn't
that's-
heard about either of those people.
Yeah, I mean,
You
are
said
you
you
really
said
gonna
we
make
were
that
skipping
joke right now?
because you said that everyone's heard of The Shining, so we're not going to do this little overview.
Well, the whole
now
point-
It
the whole
sounds
point
like
of
you're
what
doing
I
an
was
overview.
saying-
Then you realized halfway through that there's a lot of people like Kat.
Wow.
So-
So you're calling me
No.
stupid?
I didn't
Excuse
say
me.
anything
Wow.
like that.
You can't do. I told you not to do beer.
Well, you're drinking beer.
Yes, I am.
Oh my
I'm-
God! Oh, guys, listeners, we're drinking beer on this
We're
podcast.
not gonna. we're gonna cut this out.
Mine's
because
I have a
that's-
sarsaparilla.
No, it's just
No.
nasty. Just cut it out.
No,
It's-
it-
and
it's-
I'm rocking too.
I
Look
haven't
at-
farted yet, so that's a plus.
Yeah, please don't do that.
No, I know, but I haven't. So
Guys, it's okay. We're drinking
Already
beer
good.
while recording this podcast about horror movies. I'm sure you're shocked. And from the time that this movie was announced, I mean, Stephen King's novel, The Shining, which I believe came out in 76 or 77, was so popular already. And then whenever, it was announced that Stanley Kubrick was going to be the director of this movie, which, if you're familiar with anything related to Stanley Kubrick, and, obviously there's a lot out there about him being a genius and the best film director of his era. A director like that doing a horror movie was a big fucking deal. So this was a very heavily anticipated movie that, when it came out, was not received very well, which was strange to me, considering how it's, considered now.
It's like the same thing as Caddyshack. when that movie first came out, people fucking hated that movie.
See, that's bullshit.
And that's
Caddyshack's the best.
Fantastic movie. That movie has gained popularity, but I didn't know that was the same case with The Shining. I figured that movie was gold from the beginning, because it is.
Well, the novel was so beloved when Stephen King wrote it, and then, this movie came out, and like I said, it was Stanley Kubrick, and
Stephen King was
the big thing. Yeah, that's the big thing. I feel like that really hurt it was that Stephen King was not a fan of this movie pretty much right from the first time he saw it. He's been very vocal about that over the years. If you ever, if you Google Stephen King, Stanley Kubrick, you can read a lot about what their problems with each other were. But I think the big quote that King has floated out there before is that, he essentially thought that Kubrick took a lot of the emotional aspects of The Shining out of the story, which was, what he wanted to write about. If you've read the Shining book, which I have because I'm a nerd, that book is about, struggling with being a new dad, alcoholism, isolation, those sorts of themes. And, Jack Torrance is a very relatable main person. And King's problem was that, Jack Nicholson was not a good fit for that character. Because, Jack has a crazy-looking face, and he kind of looks crazy all the time. So, you can kind of see where he's coming from there. But I think the famous quote was that King said that Kubrick made the equivalent with that movie of a beautiful car on the outside that has no engine on the inside, which I thought was interesting. So that's, kind of his main problem with that, which I think really did hurt this movie early on.
Not for nothing, but Stephen King should be thankful that fucking Stanley Kubrick made that movie, because he could have had someone make Graveyard Shift or some terrible movie like that, which most of his adaptations are. He's batting about 50% because, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know which ones are better, the ones that are true to the book or the ones that the directors kind of take some liberties. But I would be interested to see.
So I read The Shining a long time ago when I was in college, and there's a lot more supernatural stuff in the book than there is in the movie. Like there's some.
Well, there's always going to be less in the movie. The movie you can't.
Yeah.
Do a book of however big it is. I don't know. I'm assuming it's over 600 pages because it's Stephen King.
It's close. It's not like It level crazy.
No,
or The Stand. No.
And I read The Green Mile, surprisingly enough, and that was like
good for you.
That was like 800 pages.
I actually haven't read that one.
It was really good. I read it in high school.
Did you? How did that compare to the movie?
I liked the movie better. I think I'm just more a visual person. I don't think that the book strayed too far from the movie, from my opinion. So, I
would always go with the movies better.
Well, and I watched the movie
because it's a movie and it's not a fucking book that no one wants to read.
Well, here's the thing with you can be so much more descriptive in books, and you're just reading versus. You only have so much time to show people in a movie what they want to see, right? So you can't adapt a 1,500-page Stephen King novel into a movie. Like that's why nobody is
a miniseries.
Well, exactly. Well, that's why nobody has turned The Stand into a movie, or nobody has turned
The Stand is a movie.
Well, it's a miniseries.
It's a
miniseries.
Yeah, so it's like 16 hours long. That's
and
not a movie.
I've seen it.
Yeah, so it's not a movie.
It was when I was a kid. 4 VHSs. I watched all of them.
Same with Storm of the Century.
It too.
Yes, I have Storm of the Century on DVD.
So underrated.
Storm of the Century is awesome.
Storm of the Century.
And we might talk a little bit more about
let's keep going.
But yeah, that's the thing with Stephen King novels. They're so long. It's tough to adapt them into a 2.5-hour movie, which is why It played it smart, and the director of that movie did it in 2 parts and didn't announce it was going to be a second part until the end of the first movie in the credits. So that was pretty cool. So before we get into The Shining, obviously Shining aside, what is your favorite Stephen King adaptation? TV, movie, comic book?
That's very difficult.
Anything. I know it's tough. What are your thoughts?
Well, gotta love The Dead Zone. Not the show, the movie. With Walken.
Walken?
Yeah. And Martin Sheen.
You know the opposite of Christopher Walken?
Yeah. I do, but I can't remember it.
Christopher Reeves.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Handicap jokes?
It's okay. Hey, it's a well-known joke. We can
I
cut
think
that
we've all
out in
heard that
post.
before. No, we should. Why would you cut anything out?
That's okay.
People can't take a joke.
We'll leave it in there. It's okay. Well, we can go in and
But
clean
so
this
yeah,
up.
Dead Zone is up there. It's probably not my number one. It's a terrible movie. Nobody likes this movie, but I like it. Is The Dark Half, which I thought was really good.
With Tim Hutton.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah,
I don't know
good
why.
movie.
It's like a cheesy. It's like Thinner, kind of like it's just this over the top like cheesy fucking movie.
Thinner is a dump of a movie, but I actually like that movie too. Have you ever seen Thinner?
No, I haven't. No.
It's just so. It's cheesy and corny, but it reminds that's what I picture the '80s being like.
Yeah,
it's like the creep shows. They're so cheesy, but they're so good.
Phenomenal. I love Creep Show so much.
The Blob or the Raft. That's the one. The Raft.
It's in Creep Show too.
Yeah.
That's
there's
awesome.
another.
It's great.
The Shining is obviously the best, but you can't say that because we're not allowed to use The Shining.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like that's the gold standard, and we'll get to that. But, Kat, what about you?
Or Shawshank.
I would say, if you were to do a miniseries, The Storm of the Century is by far, by far the best.
So good.
I have it on DVD actually, and I've watched it a billion times.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. It's awesome.
No, I don't think I've watched it since 1990. Whenever that fucking thing.
Oh no!
I think the last time I
seen it
watched it was when
then.
it aired, but I remember a lot
No, I
about
have
it.
I have it on DVD, and it's amazing. And like, it's just, I feel like it's so scary again because like I am scared of things that are real, and that's like a guy that comes into your town, you have no idea who he is, and
Yeah.
like if you're in a small town like how they were in,
It's real.
It's all what?
The devil.
No, I mean like a different person coming
not-
into your town if you live in a small town,
I
which
think
we
Cujo's
don't.
more real,
But I
but-
mean like.
The fear of the outsider.
The fear of the outsider that, like, all of a sudden someone comes in your town and you're like, what's up with them? And
That's a
they
very-
end up,
that's
like,
not really
killing the entire
and
town.
in the case of Storm of the Century, it's Calm Fior.
But there's not many towns
the
like
actor.
that. Well, I've never lived in a town like that. Where you're like, who did this stranger come rolling into town?
No, well, because, I mean...
It's Maine, so,
yeah.
and it's an island.
And I mean, and nobody
I
writes.
thought it was in Virginia.
Speaking of islands, and neither of you have watched
Wasn't Roanoke in Virginia?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, because it's tied to Roanoke.
Yeah.
It's tied to that.
No, it's totally tied
I don't
to
remember.
Roanoke.
I forget if it's in
Oh.
Maine or if
But
it's in
it-
Virginia. I haven't seen it.
No,
so long.
it takes place in Maine because it's like fucking freezing.
But it says
out.
Croatoan on
Croatoan,
the...
bro.
Yeah.
It's a reference to a like a group of
From
pioneers.
Virginia.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
And
Yeah.
they got
Yeah.
So it's in reference to that island.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that the island is it's off of.
So
Maine.
it could just mean like the same
Okay.
evil forces that
Yeah.
got rid of that colony. Also,
Yeah.
that's him. That's him. And
Yeah.
honestly,
I
you
would
read any of that
say-
shit about
yeah.
that Virginia colony with the Croatoan and the
I did at the
Roanoke
time,
colony?
but that was so long ago because I don't remember.
Yeah, wacky conspiracy theory shit. It's just it's actually very interesting to read about. All right,
Stephen King likes Indians.
yeah, I know. There's a lot of we'll talk a little bit more about that. But there's a lot of Indian and Native American
Americans.
Yeah,
imagery
he needs to be a little
in
PC,
his
yeah.
in his stories.
Not the red dot Indians. the
No,
regular Indians.
yep.
So
yep,
for
yep.
me, Andrew, it's funny that you nailed this earlier. We were talking before the podcast. My favorite personal Stephen King adaptation, and I know it's not the best one, it's not Shawshank, it's not Stand By Me, it's not The Green Mile, The Mist. The Mist is awesome because I love Stephen King stuff when he gets into the cosmic weird horror monster type stuff, and I know he touches that on that in some stories, other ones he doesn't, and The Mist is it was a short story that he wrote that was in one of his early short story collections. It's a great story. The ending of the story is very different from the one in the movie.
So I haven't read the book, and the ending of the movie, they go and they blow it up. It's an alien or something, right?
So basically, what it is they live on a lake, and on one side of the lake there's a government facility. They call it the Arrowhead Project, and they're experimenting with some interdimensional travel type bullshit, and they create like a rift and all these weird
Stranger Things?
Lovecraftian. Yeah, actually, so they say it's one of the inspirations for Stranger Things.
Makes
It was
sense.
written in like the early '80s. So they're all these weird Lovecraftian style monsters come out, and just they're trapped in a grocery store, and basically there's this mist. You've seen the movie,
Yeah.
you know. So, but the end of it in the book is it's kind of like a hopeful ending because they're just driving and trying to find where the mist ends.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hopeful. It's like it's told like same style as like Dracula, like just the guy writing letters. But obviously the movie is much, much more fucked up than that. The guy, Thomas Jane, kills his entire family, and then he drives to the end of the mist and finds out that it's completely fixable. And he just killed his family for no reason.
Better ending.
Yeah, better ending. It was more jarring.
Stephen King was never known for his endings, was he?
Yeah, I mean that's been a criticism of him quite a bit. But
that sounds like a good.
Yeah, I do like the ending.
No one wants a hopeful ending.
Yeah, I
murder
personally,
your whole family. That's way better. It's a horror movie.
I just think that obviously, if there's some horror stuff out there that has hopeful endings, I like it. But I prefer something that's a little bit more fucked up and twisted.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
So while we're talking about King adaptations, obviously we didn't include The Shining, and as this could be our personal favorite because I think it's my personal favorite. Of King's adaptations. So I think our reverence for this movie is well on display already. And Andrew, I know you've said this is one of your all-time favorites. Kat, I know you like it as well. Where does this movie rank for you all-time horror movies?
Maybe number one. It's definitely top three.
Okay.
It's just so good. The score is amazing. Mm-hmm. The visionary elements are amazing.
The
acting is phenomenal. Even Danny Torrance, the little child actor, he's awesome in this movie. I can't believe he didn't do anything else because he's a very good child actor, which you don't really see very often. She's good in the movie, but I can't fucking stand her stupid face. It's Shelley Duvall. I'm just waiting for her eyes to pop out of her head, which is probably why she got chose for the role because she already looks horrifying just in regular day life, but when she's screaming, it's even more horrifying. So I can understand them picking that horrifying creature to be in this movie. So I mean, I guess I wouldn't take her out then. I mean, I definitely wouldn't take her out, but I wouldn't take her out of the
Shining too, and I'd say it's probably within my top 10 for sure.
Okay. What are some of the other movies that would be in your top 10?
The Ring is definitely the scariest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Mm-hmm. I still have nightmares to this day, about, Samara from The Ring. I could totally replay that movie in my mind every day, every minute of every hour, because I was so scared of it.
That movie scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it.
Terrifying movie. It's pretty fucking scary.
I mean, the last scene of that movie where Samara comes out of the TV is all time shit your pants
terrifying.
level scary.
You know who they should have casted as Samara?
Who?
Shelley Duvall.
Nice. That would have been hilarious, actually.
Oh my god, that movie would have been like the best horror movie of all time. It would have been so scary. And you wouldn't... The trailer could have just been Shelley Duvall's face, and then The Ring. Bang. And then you go, oh my god, I'm going to throw up.
Right? Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That would have been hilarious and scary in the same sense, I guess.
More scary than anything. That's not hilarious. How is that funny? That's terrifying.
But it's funny because she's from The Shining.
Which has nothing to do with The Ring.
Right, but it would just be weird because you'd be like, "Why is she?"
If she had that
coming
face,
out of the well?
Because you don't see Samara's face. You don't see Samara's face. But if you saw Shelley Duvall's face on Samara, that would be fucking.
Or like instead of the hand coming out of the person's head in The Grudge, it's just Shelley Duvall's face.
Oh my god! I don't think I can shake that image anytime soon. So for me,
hopefully you're not jerking off when you see that image.
I love The Shining.
Everyone yerks off once in a while.
Give it a yerk and a yingle.
So eating some Pringles.
Okay, moving on and talk about whatever the hell you're talking about.
The Shining for me is a lot of sports shows talk about their Mount Rushmore of certain things, right? So top 4 of all time type shit.
Gotta have Tom Brady up there.
Gotta have Tom Brady up there.
Oh wait, we're not talking about
so
sports.
yeah, we're not a Boston sports podcast. We're a Brady podcast.
Big Papi? No.
Yeah, Brady, Big Papi, Larry Bird, whoever else. But anyway,
some hockey player.
Bobby Orr.
The Mike Mount Rushmore of horror movies, The Shining is on it, and I feel like ever since I feel like this movie it's just so strange because if you've ever seen Room 237, which is the documentary about this movie, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a while.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies. Worst podcast ever.
I have to just interject real quick. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but with the Mount Rushmore, you have the 4 faces. Whose face would you put up there? Would it be Jack Torrance?
Or would it be Jack's. It had
Shelley Duvall.
Had to be Jack's. It has to be Jack going through the door.
100%.
Oh, it's clearly Jack going through the door.
Yeah, but this movie for me is all-time great. And the first time I ever saw it, I don't even really think I liked it that much, to be honest. I think I've watched it so many times since. I was probably like 12?
No, you must have been older than that.
Why?
No.
I don't know. I feel like...
I mean, so that would have been 1998. I definitely would have watched it around that time. And I feel like I liked it.
I feel like
Who did
your
you watch
brain
it with?
couldn't handle it at that age.
My dad. I watched it with my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, because my dad loves scary movies. And for me, I found it very scary at the time, but I don't find it as scary now in life. But I feel like I've grown to love this movie where I initially liked it the first time I saw it. And I think this movie lends itself to repeat viewings more and more because there's just so much shit in there that you don't notice the first time around.
Oh yeah, it's full of Easter eggs. Just his facial expressions in almost every scene are amazing. Like you might be, it's over the top a little bit, but that's acting. He's perfection at it. That's his best performance in any movie.
I mean, from a pure physical acting perspective, I don't know how anybody could be any better.
You could
Well,
be Jim Carrey, maybe, but that's
maybe.
different.
I see Jack Nicholson's eyebrows and like they raise up in any sort of movie that he's in, and I'm just like, oh my god, Jack Nicholson is like, he's in his like crazy mode, you know, like he's just like the minute he raises his eyebrows because they're already like super intense. All of a sudden you see him raise his eyebrows and you're like, oh my god, he just went from like one level to another, like.
Oh, for sure. And then I mean, like, you know, so Jack Nicholson was Stephen King's main problem with this movie because he's so much of a physical actor that he didn't really feel he could portray Jack Torrance as a character that descends into madness versus somebody that is already fucking crazy that just goes crazier. And I feel like when you look at, you know, Jack Nicholson, that makes sense. I can
He did a bang-up
totally
job with
understand that. But I mean,
even the opening scenes of the movie, you get the feeling that he's crazy.
I mean, yeah, you definitely
never
do.
sense that he's like a normal person. There's
Yeah.
something off about him. Like nobody makes those facial expressions.
Well, so if you've ever seen
lunatic.
if you've ever
Right.
seen the Shining miniseries that came out, the one that Stephen King executive produced and Mick Garris did it, Steven Weber plays Jack Torrance, which is a completely different type of casting, but he's a much more reserved, you know, more soft-spoken kind of guy. Couldn't be any different than Jack Nicholson, and I feel like, you know, that's where King's core problem laid with
But
that
here's
movie.
the question, though. Yes, does he obviously, you can tell he's kind of insane from the beginning. Mm-hmm. But no one can make, like, once he is an absolute maniac in that movie, there's not a better actor for that role.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
So
yeah.
you kind of just get by with the fact that he already seems crazy at the beginning. That's fine. You don't have to worry about it. You're not replacing that acting. You can't replace that acting. There's no one that's going to do that better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So, you know, obviously this movie has become so iconic, and it's been parodied, spoofed, you know, drawn inspiration from in a number of things.
Great gifts.
Yeah,
Simpsons
absolutely. Oh my god, the Shinning episode of the Treehouse of Horror is one of one of the best segments of that series of Simpsons episodes. Do you still find this movie to be scary?
See, you guys always say that doesn't matter to me. I don't find anything scary, really. I'm an adult.
Oh, you're a
tough guy.
No. So if you want to base it off of is this a great horror movie because it's scary? I could care less about that. Like,
I think we've already said it's a great horror movie. It's great.
Yeah, it doesn't
obviously
need to be the scariest thing. It's more of those slight elements of just internal madness and paranormal, a little bit of everything. You never really know what's quite going. You have an idea of what's going on, but it's not like this. Just all of a sudden, someone comes out and sticks an axe in your chest.
Well,
so
that's incorrect because I think at some point
scene,
someone.
But like I was saying earlier, there's only there's 2 deaths in the whole movie. So from a horror, there's a lot more.
Very small amount of violence for as violent as you think it
For
is.
a movie that can be that horrifying, yeah, because you see blood everywhere. Yeah, you see a lot of dead bodies and people that were dead.
Mm-hmm.
So
lots of blood, lots of elevator blood, lots of
decaying
twin daughter blood,
naked
lots
women.
of blood written on doors. Oh, that's lipstick.
Lots of men getting their dicks sucked by bears.
Yeah.
Which
that
happens in
that
P-Town
one
all the
fucked
time,
me up.
but that's
that
not
one
a big
fucked me
deal.
up. So, can I ask you this? Let's just talk about this hypothetically for a second. So, how does one perform the blowjob on another man when you're wearing a bear mask? Is there a hole in the mask?
Do you guys have experience?
Is there actually a blowjob being performed?
Why are you asking about this?
I mean, I just feel like it's a plot hole. It's a plot hole that needs to be discussed. These are the types of issues that we're tackling here.
Are you gonna go get a bear mask after this?
No, I'm just asking the question.
He could have just been rubbing his gentle, furry face on the guy's dick.
He could have. Some people are fucking into that.
Soft edge job of a something or other. It's like
gross.
a furry edge job.
This is gross. This is gross.
Yeah, well, I agree. It's gross.
He brought it
It's
up.
weird that it's in the fucking movie. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I'm just thinking, hypothetically about how the scene is, portrayed. What's up with that? What's up with the bear? What's up with the bear mask?
It's a messed up movie. They just want to mess up with you more. I mean, come on, man.
So, if you were watching this movie at 3:00 in the morning by yourself, no lights on in your living room, you wouldn't get a chill down your spine or anything. You wouldn't be creeped out by this if you were watching it.
No.
You're that desensitized to it after watching it.
I've seen it so many times. Like, there's movies that'll do that to me, like the Shadow People movie. Mm-hmm. It's different elements, more of like because to me, I'm not in a hotel with a bunch of spirits and the most horrifying thing of all, Shelley Duvall running around. Because God knows, it's not surprising that he wanted to bash her fucking head in. Because it's Shelley Duvall.
Yeah. Everyone wants to bash her head in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and his son was a little
crybaby
bitch, too. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, he might have...
Which is why I don't have children.
Yeah, so obviously...
I don't want to be convicted of murder.
So Danny, it's implied, obviously, with the injury that he had, getting his arm pulled out of his socket, that he was abused by Jack.
Oh, that's the best description of abusing your child I've ever seen.
Like, you yank him,
with
like,
a
get
few
the fuck out of here.
200 pounds per square inch.
Oh, shit. Like, okay, oops.
His face was insane when he was doing that.
Oh, yeah.
You could tell that he enjoyed thoroughly ripping his child's arm out of his socket.
Yeah, when he's describing that to the bartender, it's he's definitely a little bit too excited when talking about it.
And he'd only had like one sip of the fucking scotch or the bourbon or whatever he was drinking.
So I think this is already a foregone conclusion here, but so like we did with Krampus, a couple other horror movies that were released in 1980, which is when The Shining was released.
Oh.
I'll already tell you, it's a bad year for horror. Okay. Some of the other movies that released, none of which can even sniff the fucking jock of The Shining. Cannibal Holocaust, the original Maniac. Do you see the Maniac with Elijah Wood, by the way? You see that?
No.
Maybe.
No.
I don't know.
It's fucked up. So. It's fucked up. So is the original one, though. The Fog, the John Carpenter movie. Underrated movie. Friday the 13th. Obviously a classic.
Duh.
Yeah.
Inferno, which is a Dario Argento movie. And that's pretty much fucking it. And The Shining, obviously. far and away best horror movie of the year.
You could put The Shining out in any year. And
any year. It's got to be.
I can tell you it'd be a lot better than Midsommar, that garbage movie.
More on that in a future episode, by the way, because that movie fucking sucked.
We won't even
oh my
about
god!
that right now.
I know everyone
Let's
loves that movie
focus,
because they like to fucking
Focus.
Yeah, what a disappointment that was.
I liked fucking Nicolas Cage and The Wicker Man too. Why don't you watch that movie, because that's
Alright.
terrible too.
Kat, what's your favorite scene in this movie?
I think the most memorable scene in this movie is when Wendy goes and looks at the typewriter and sees what has actually been written in terms of...
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yes. Thank you very much for saying that.
Thanks for stealing my favorite scene.
Yeah, it's okay. It's alright. Yeah, so she sees that, and all of a sudden she's like, oh my god, he's been working so hard for this. And he just keeps rewriting the same sentence over and over. And actually, as a graphic designer, when I was watching the typewriter paper, as she went by page by page by page, he had these typos that were like very organic, but in the same sense.
I saw those
like
in there too.
It was pretty cool. The typography in there was pretty cool because it made it seem scarier in a way, because it would be, no work, and like work would have no space or something. Like something wouldn't have a space, or something would be spelled wrong.
Just the general typing of it was.
You
so
know,
much
it wasn't
different.
mass produced.
It was dialogue.
It wasn't
and then
the
it was
exact
poem
same
form,
sentence,
and then it was long
right.
form.
So somebody that
Like,
has been going mad for a
literally,
long time and typing the
she
whole
finally
thing fucking out.
delved into the depths of how fucked up that guy is.
Also, shout out to when Wendy at the end, after she gets out of the room that Jack is trying to chop the door down, she's running through the hotel and she sees all that spooky shit with the the skeletons all sitting in the lounge. She sees, Bear Blowjob Guy, which we already talked about. She sees a bunch of other shit, and it's so weird. It's just a different tone than the rest of the movie. But I also think that one of the scariest parts of this movie, if not the scariest part of the movie, is the soundtrack.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
And the loud, jarring, music effects when they just like zoom right in.
There's nothing better than that scene when he's chopping down the door. I don't know what it is about it visually from the side angle, but you feel like the whole camera and everything's just pulsing. It's like boom.
Yeah.
But like you can feel the sound and you can feel the door caving in. It's a very weird way that they did it, and it's probably a very simple trick, but it was amazing.
I feel like it's a very organic feeling movie because the whole thing is shot with a Steadicam. So all the camera shots behind Danny when he's on the trike, and behind Jack when he's walking through the hallways, behind Wendy when she's walking through the hallways, all of them are with the Steadicam. So it just feels like you're slowly walking behind.
It's like an
all of these people.
Omniscient force being watching them.
Yeah, like
it's like you're a fly on
it almost
the wall.
feels like you're
one of the
ghost
ghosts
is watching
in the
them,
movie.
like one of the ghosts of the hotel is watching these people.
It just sets this
around.
eerie tone.
It does. It just it makes it so much creepier than it actually is, and it's creepy as fuck to begin with. So the music for me, the opening credits, that made music unbelievably scary, with like the shrieking like.
Well, I mean, the soundtrack makes the movie, too. Like, I mean, all those crazy sound effects and all the crazy music, like, all of it's atonal, like, crazy sound effect music, and it's totally appropriate for a horror movie.
Too, with atonal stuff, yeah.
I do, yes, I do. That was my thesis.
Is this a sexual joke?
So, no.
That's my thesis.
No,
my thesis.
She did some work on atonal music, which is just creepy, scary, loud, shocking type music, like in The Shining.
And we don't get into it. But.
So, who is the MVP of this movie?
Ooh, MVP. Well, I mean,
Kat?
it's almost like you got to do.
Andrew?
It can't be Jack.
I feel like it is Jack.
No, I know, but you have to be like. It's obviously Jack. It's just going to be someone else other than Jack.
You think it's going to be Wendy? I mean, not really. The MVP? It's Jack.
What's the most memorable part of this movie? That's what I mean by MVP.
Jack's face.
When you think of The Shining, what do you think of?
Jack's face in the bathroom door.
So it's Jack.
It's Jack.
Or when he's frozen in the hedge maze.
Or exactly. Either one.
So it's Jack.
It's always Jack.
Jack's,
but I'm trying to make it more interesting because clearly it's fucking Jack. It's like.
Like when you think of The Shining,
Jack,
you don't think of anyone else but Jack.
There's really
Nicholson.
also like 4 people in the movie. So 5.
Yes.
There really is a shockingly low number of actors and actresses in this movie. It's like 7 or 8.
You got Halloran.
I mean, aside from like
the manager.
the
But
random
even
extras.
if you count in like the manager.
Yeah.
Or the owner, or whoever he is, who
So
hires
Jack, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, Scatman Crothers, Barry
Howard.
Nelson, who runs the hotel. His assistant, that's 6.
There's all the extras from the party, though.
Lloyd 7.
And,
Delbert
Grady.
Grady 8. And then a bunch of other extras, essentially.
Yeah,
the doctor that sees Danny in his room, 9.
Tony.
So maybe more than you were.
Tony.
Tony. Torrance. Yeah. Maybe more than you'd think, but it's for a movie with this budget and this famous, it's actually a very small amount of actors. So for me, I think it's going to be Kubrick because the way this movie is talked about to this day, with all the conspiracy theories and all the bullshit, has to be. Everyone talks about his genius.
MVP?
For me, yeah.
Wow.
It's not a bad call.
Everybody talks about all the conspiracy theories related to this movie, and it's kind of a perfect segue.
It's almost like Belichick and Brady.
I feel like he's the Bill Belichick
and
of,
Brady is Jack.
Movie directing.
Would this movie be, if you removed one and replaced him with someone else, would it be as good?
Right.
Maybe.
No. It would not be. It would not be.
No, exactly. So it's Belichick and Brady-esque.
So I'll throw a couple of conspiracy theories. Obviously, so we were going to watch this movie and then incorporate this too, but we wanted to keep it a little bit shorter. But if you haven't seen Room 237, it's my personal favorite documentary of all time. All about The Shining, all about the conspiracy theories that some of the whack jobs out there have about this movie. Some of them make some sense. Some of them make some sense. Some of them are fucking bananas. But either way, it's fascinating, and I recommend you watch it if you're a fan of Kubrick, if you're a fan of The Shining.
If you like documentaries and
if you like documentaries,
stuff,
it's phenomenal.
You don't even have to be a horror movie fan. It's just interesting to watch.
It's phenomenal. I'm going to throw a couple conspiracy theories about this movie out there at you. You guys tell me real quick if you buy them or not. Okay? First one, biggest one. This movie is about the genocide of the Native Americans. What do you think?
Seems a bit far-fetched.
I'm going to go with a big no.
Okay. So, obviously you've seen all the Native American imagery in this movie, right?
There's a lot of Easter eggs with little
paying
hinting, but I don't think it's,
Native
Starts off when Jack goes to the hotel. He's talking to Barry Nelson's character, Ullman, the hotel operator. Finds out that the hotel was on Indian burial ground.
It was built
If I can
on
only
an
talk.
Indian
Built?
burial.
Talking is
Wow, it
difficult.
is really hard to say. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
It's like saying brewery. Brewery. You sound drunk every time you say it. Or February.
Indian burial ground.
Or a whiskery, as somebody I know once said.
Ooh, yes, that's correct.
Shout out to you, random person that you probably know.
But I mean, if that's what the movie's really supposed to be about, then why don't you fucking make it about that?
Yeah, exactly.
You did very vague things.
If you watch Room 237, like I said, there's some shit that you listen to. It's like, okay, I don't really agree with this, but some of it you're like, okay, this makes fucking sense. So one of the things, The Shining, one of the guys that's in the documentary, he saw the movie in London a couple weeks after it was released in America, and it was released in America. It was bad reviews, didn't make a lot of money. And the poster for the movie in London said that the wave of terror that swept America reaches London. And this guy's theory is that there was no wave of terror because it didn't do well in America. So he thinks the wave of terror that swept America is referring to Americans or colonists moving to America and sweeping across America and murdering Native Americans.
That is so fucking out there.
Yeah, that's really far-fetched.
First off, it was Europeans that...
Yeah, I meant Europe.
So,
sorry, I meant...
No, I mean, they came to America.
Yeah. Of course.
So
yeah, it's not Americans coming to America.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree. I'm in
it's
the same
a fucking
boat. Like
movie poster. You're trying to sell the movie, so if people in Britain don't...
Well,
it's not like you have social media in that day where you're like, this movie sucked. Those people don't know that it sucked. They're like, yeah, this movie, people were horrified by this movie.
I think the point of that documentary is that the director is kind of trolling some of these people, that their theories are so ridiculous that it's just so fucking stupid. That's the only one in the whole movie that I can actually, I think, holds a little bit of weight. There's a couple other things that are in there. Just there's so much Native American imagery in the hotel.
Yeah,
but starting off with the comment about the Native American burial ground.
It's like fucking... What's that horror movie?
Oh,
the
that
TV
one?
with the TV.
Videodrome?
No.
Grudge?
Not the ring.
It's such a famous... No.
What?
Poltergeist?
Yes. Indian Burial Ground.
Yes, exactly.
That's just a horror movie.
Which came out after The Shining, though.
No, but that doesn't have anything to do with the genocide of Indians. It's just a spooky story.
It is.
Right.
It's a Stephen King book.
But there's other things too. There's other things. So like they say, the first time that you see Danny talking to Dick Halloran, they're in like the walk-in freezer, and when they're looking at each other, they both have Calumet baking powder cans in the shot by both of them, which Calumet in Native American Indian means peace pipe.
Interesting.
So it's an honest peace pipe treaty between the two of them. They actually become friends. They communicate telepathically with the shine.
It's very good metaphors.
Right. So I feel like
that's not the point of the movie.
They theorize in Room 237 that none of this is by accident. Like Kubrick was too smart to miss this shit. Like it's actually
this is where it comes down to Belichick and Brady again, because Belichick, he loses games on purpose. Kubrick puts things in certain shots on purpose.
All right.
I'm basically just trying to say that fucking Belichick's the best.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you?
So, in addition to that, there's a couple other ones that I'll touch on really, really quick, and I know we've spent a lot of time on this already, but one of them, in addition to this movie being about the genocide of Native Americans, is that it's about the conspiracy that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing. Are you familiar with it? Also, shout out to when Wendy at the end, after she gets out of the room that Jack is trying to chop the door down, she's running through the hotel and she sees all that spooky shit with the the skeletons all sitting in the lounge. She sees Bear Blowjob guy, which we already talked about. She sees a bunch of other shit, and it's so weird. It's just a different tone than the rest of the movie. But I also think that one of the scariest parts of this movie, if not the scariest part of the movie, is the soundtrack. Oh, it's phenomenal. And the loud, jarring, music effects when they just like zoom right in.
There's nothing better than that scene when he's chopping down the door. I don't know what it is about it visually from the side angle, but you feel like the whole camera and everything's just pulsing. It's like boom.
Yeah.
But like you can feel the sound and you can feel the door caving in. It's a very weird way that they did it, and it's probably a very simple trick, but it was amazing.
I feel like it's a very organic feeling movie because the whole thing is shot with a Steadicam. So all the camera shots behind Danny when he's on the trike, and behind Jack when he's walking through the hallways, behind Wendy when she's walking through the hallways, all of them are with the Steadicam. So it just feels like you're slowly walking behind.
It's like an
all of these people.
Omniscient force being watching them.
Yeah,
it's like you're a fly on
it almost feels like you're a ghost.
You're one
of
the
ghost
ghosts
is watching
the
them. Like one of the ghosts of the hotel is watching these people.
It just sets
walk
this
around.
eerie tone.
It does. It just it makes it so much creepier than it actually is, and it's creepy as fuck to begin with. So the music for me, the opening credits, that made music unbelievably scary, with like the shrieking like.
Well, I mean, the soundtrack makes the movie, too. Like, I mean, all those crazy sound effects and all the crazy music, like, all of it's atonal, like, crazy sound effect music, and it's totally appropriate for a horror movie.
Too, with atonal stuff, yeah.
I do, yes, I do. That was my thesis.
So sexual joke?
So, no.
That was my thesis. No, my thesis.
She did some work on atonal music, which is just creepy, scary, loud, shocking type music, like in The Shining.
We won't get into it. But.
So, who is the MVP of this movie?
Ooh, MVP. Well, I mean,
Kat?
it's almost like you got to do.
Andrew?
It can't be Jack.
I feel like it is Jack.
No, I know, but you have to be like. It's obviously Jack. It's just gonna be someone else other than Jack.
I think it's gonna be Wendy. I mean, not really. The MVP. It's Jack.
What's the most memorable part of this movie? That's what I mean by MVP.
Jack's face.
When you think of The Shining, what do you think of?
Jack's face in the bathroom door.
So it's Jack.
It's Jack.
Or when he's frozen in the hedge maze.
Or exactly. Either
So
one.
it's Jack.
It's
Jack.
always Jack,
Jack's,
but I'm trying to make it more interesting because clearly it's fucking Jack. It's like.
Like when you think of The Shining,
Jack,
you don't think of anyone else but Jack
There's really
Nicholson.
also like 4 people in the movie, so 5.
Yes.
There really is a shockingly low number of actors and actresses in this movie. It's like 7 or 8.
You got Halloran.
You know, I mean, aside from like
The
you
manager.
know, the
But
random
even
extras.
if you count in like the manager.
Yeah.
Or whoever he is. Who
So
hires
Jack, Shelley Duvall, Danny Lloyd, Scatman Crothers, Barry
Howard.
Nelson, who runs the hotel, his assistant, that's 6.
There's all the extras from the party, though.
Who's Lloyd?
Lloyd, 7.
And,
Delbert
Grady.
Grady, 8. And then a bunch of other extras, essentially.
Yeah,
The
so
doctor that sees Danny in his room, 9.
Tony.
So maybe more than you were
Tony.
Tony. Torrance. Yeah. Maybe more than you'd think, but it's you know, for a movie with this budget and this famous, it's actually a very small amount of actors. So for me, I think it's going to be Kubrick, because the way this movie is talked about to this day, with all the conspiracy theories and all the bullshit, has to be. Everyone talks about his genius.
Your MVP?
For me, yeah.
Wow.
It's not a bad call.
Everybody talks about all the conspiracy theories related to this movie, and you know, it's kind of a perfect segue.
It's almost like Belichick and Brady. Like,
yeah, I feel like he's the Bill Belichick
and
of,
Brady is Jack.
movie
like,
directing.
Would this movie be, if you removed one and replaced it with someone else, would it be as good?
Right.
Maybe
no. It would not be. It would not be.
No, exactly. So it's Belichick and Brady-esque.
So I'll throw a couple of conspiracy theories. Obviously, so we were going to watch this movie and then, you know, incorporate this too, but we wanted to keep it a little bit shorter. But if you haven't seen Room 237, it's my personal favorite documentary of all time. All about The Shining, all about the conspiracy theories that some of the whack jobs out there have about this movie. Some of them make some sense. Some of them make some sense. Some of them are fucking bananas. But either way, it's fascinating, and I recommend you watch it if you're a fan of Kubrick, if you're a fan of The Shining.
If you like documentaries and
if you like
weird
documentaries,
stuff,
it's
you
phenomenal.
don't even have to be a horror movie fan. It's just interesting to watch.
It's phenomenal. I'm going to throw a couple conspiracy theories about this movie out there at you. You guys tell me real quick if you buy them or not. Okay? First one, biggest one. This movie is about the genocide of the Native Americans. What do you think?
Seems a bit far-fetched.
I'm going to go with a big no.
Okay. So, obviously you've seen all the Native American imagery in this movie, right?
There's a lot of Easter eggs with, like, little hinting, but I don't think it's,
Starts off when Jack goes to the hotel. He's talking to Barry Nelson's character, Ullman, the hotel operator. Finds out that the hotel was on Indian burial ground.
It was built on an Indian
built
burial.
talking.
Wow, it is really hard to say. I didn't realize that. Yeah,
it's like saying brewery. Brewery. You sound drunk every time you say it. Or February.
Indian burial ground.
Or a whiskery, as somebody I know once said.
Ooh, yes, that's correct.
Shout out to you, random person that you probably know.
But I mean, if that's what the movie's really supposed to be about, then why don't you fucking make it about that?
Yeah, exactly.
You did very vague things.
If you watch Room 237, like I said, there's some shit that you listen to. It's like, okay, I don't really agree with this, but some of it you're like, okay, this makes fucking sense. So one of the things, The Shining, one of the guys that's in the documentary, he saw the movie in London a couple weeks after it was released in America, and it was released in America. It was bad reviews, didn't make a lot of money. And the poster for the movie in London said that the wave of terror that swept America reaches London. And this guy's theory is that there was no wave of terror because it didn't do well in America. So he thinks the wave of terror that swept America is referring to Americans or colonists moving to America and sweeping across America and murdering Native Americans.
That is so fucking out there.
Yeah, that's really far-fetched.
First off, it was Europeans that...
Yeah, I meant Europeans.
So,
sorry, I meant...
No, I mean, they came to America.
Yeah, of course.
So
it's not Americans coming to America.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree. I'm in
it's
the same boat.
It's a fucking movie poster. You're trying to sell the movie, so if people in Britain don't... Well, it's not like you have social media in that day where you're like, this movie sucked. Those people don't know that it sucked. They're like, yeah, this movie, people were horrified by this movie. I
think the point of that documentary is that the director is kind of trolling some of these people, that their theories are so ridiculous that it's just so fucking stupid. That's the only one in the whole movie that I can actually... I think holds a little bit of weight. There's a couple other things that are in there. Just there's so much Native American imagery in the hotel.
Yeah,
but starting off with the comment about the Native American burial ground.
It's like fucking. What's that horror movie?
The
that TV one with the TV.
Videodrome?
No,
Grudge.
Not the Ring.
It's such a famous
What?
Poltergeist?
Yes, Indian burial ground.
Yes, exactly.
That's just a horror movie.
Which came out after The Shining, though.
No, but that doesn't have anything to do with the genocide of Indians. It's just a spooky story.
It is.
Right.
It's a Stephen King book.
But there's other things too. There's other things. So like they say, the first time that you see Danny talking to Dick Halloran, they're in like the walk-in freezer, and when they're looking at each other, they both have Calumet baking powder cans in the shot by both of them. Which Calumet in Native American Indian means peace pipe.
Interesting.
So it's an honest peace pipe treaty between the two of them. They actually become friends. They communicate telepathically with the Shine.
It's very good metaphors.
Right. I feel like
that's not the point of the movie.
They theorize in Room 237 that none of this is by accident. Like Kubrick was too smart to miss this shit. Like it's actually
this is where it comes down to Belichick and Brady again. Because Belichick, he loses games on purpose. Kubrick puts things in certain shots on purpose.
All right.
I'm basically just trying to say that fucking Belichick's the best.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you?
So, in addition to that, there's a couple other ones that I'll touch on really, really quick, and I know we've spent a lot of time on this already. But one of them, in addition to this movie being about the genocide of Native Americans, is that it's about the conspiracy that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing. Are you familiar with this at all?
Yeah, I have. Well, I have seen Room 237, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm aware of those conspiracy theories where little Danny Torrance is wearing the sweatshirt with the rocket on it and the moon, basically, and that people say that Stanley Kubrick was one of the best directors ever, so he filmed the moon landing, which seems like a bit of a stretch, which it is. I mean, I could see them... The fact that they had cameras on the moons and they were live stream it to Earth seems a little bit far-fetched. We definitely landed on the moon, so maybe it was like a reenactment. And they just
might not have been
the actual landing on the moon. Mm-hmm. Which we just to be clear, we did land on the moon, and the Earth is round; it's not flat. Mm-hmm. So I'm not buying into any of these conspiracy theories, but it could have been a reenactment instead of an actual live footage of landing.
I think that that's more realistic than the fact that obviously we've been to the moon. It's entirely possible, and I love a good conspiracy theory, that Kubrick was hired to say, hey, we're going to get to the moon eventually, film something that looks grainy, looks like it's 60s or whatever the fuck it was, TV and video recording equipment, and we're on the moon. You could totally see that happening. So the big points for this conspiracy theory is that, so in the Stephen King book, the scary hotel room is room 217. Okay.
Okay.
It was changed to 237 in the movie.
Okay.
And one of the theories that this was changed was because that the moon is approximately 237,000 miles away from the Earth.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you ask to Google?
That's correct. No, it's been well documented that that's correct.
All right, good.
Without even having to ask to Google, it's correct.
Fair enough.
Danny's also, like you said, wearing the Apollo 11 sweatshirt when he's playing with his trucks, the carpet.
Dude, that wouldn't be serious. Like, I mean, there's no way that would be, like, an actual thing if they were toying with it in a horror movie. Like, at that. No way.
Well, the theory is that Stanley Kubrick is so much of a genius that he's basically trying to hint at this in such a subtle way that the government wouldn't have even known about it at the time, that he was, trolling them. And one of the parts where this is supposedly evident, according to Room 237 documentary, is the scene that we watched earlier, where essentially when Jack gets interrupted by Wendy when he's actually typing, and she sees the all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and he's talking about his obligations to his employer. So when you watch that scene, when he is meeting with the caretaker of the hotel, the operator of the hotel, it's a pretty basic job description, okay? He doesn't really talk about too much. He says it's not a physically demanding job. It's just more about the isolation and the cabin fever aspects of it. But he's ranting to Wendy about his obligations to his employer. Do you know what a contract means? It's a weird thing to say for Jack, okay? And this guy from Room 237 posits that he's talking about... Stanley Kubrick is speaking to the audience about his contract with the government to fake the moon landing. That's what he's talking about. Do you understand my obligations to my employer?
Interesting.
Like this type of thing. So it's just weird. It makes you think, right? Like I don't know that.
I think it just makes for good dialogue.
Yeah. It certainly does. And so just and for what it's worth, to present both sides of the argument. The real reason, supposedly, the room was changed from. So in the book, it's 217. In the movie, it's 237. The reason for that, according to the official statement from Warner Brothers and Kubrick in the movie, is that so the Sidewinder Hotel, which is in Oregon,
doesn't have a room 237.
It does, but they. Oh no, actually, sorry, it doesn't. So they have a room 217.
So they didn't want that.
They did not want.
That makes sense.
The influx of people coming in to request room 217, so they asked them to put a room number that they didn't have in there, so that it would kind of help them be less busy. I don't know why you would draw attention away from that room.
That makes more sense to me, though.
Yeah, so I mean,
not in a business point of view.
No, because people.
Oh my God,
the fact the
no
hotel's
way.
there, it doesn't matter. People are still going to come there. They're not going to get there and be like, "Oh, you don't have room 237."
Oh my God, yeah,
217. I mean, I'm going to leave. No, they're just going to go there anyway. That doesn't matter.
Some would, some wouldn't.
Weirdos.
Well, it's just wild to me.
In the same sense as business, that's business you would have otherwise.
It's wild to me that they wouldn't want the business from the extra people that are coming. Say like, "Oh, this is the fucking hotel room from The Shining." I absolutely want to stay there because I'd be one of those people that would want to stay there.
Of course, and if you're not in that room, you're like, "Oh, well, I guess maybe I'll stay." But in the same sense, you're like, "Oh, well, I didn't really come here."
But more stuff happens than just in that room.
Well,
yeah.
So, do you want to bang the old gross lady that's decaying in the bathtub? There's other things happening. The bear guy blowing that other dude. That's a different room.
Well, I know
the ballroom.
I know. We talked about this already, but so when King wrote the book, he was inspired by staying at the Stanley Hotel, which is in Colorado, which is one of the biggest hotels you can stay at if you're a horror fan, because it's essentially the Overlook Hotel from this story. The outside shots of the hotel for this movie were filmed at a place called the what's the fucking name of it? It's in Oregon, way north towards the mountains. But the outside shots were filmed there, and all of the interior shots of the hotel were not filmed there. They were filmed at a soundstage in London. Kubrick actually built all of that interior that you see in the movie. All that is a set. So, like a lot of the continuity errors in terms of where Danny's riding around, like that's also in room 237. that's because it's a fucking set. It's not, it's an actual hotel. Like, Danny's not actually riding, from one floor to another. He's not riding upstairs on this trikey. But, all right, so since we cover haunted attractions on this podcast as well, how do you guys feel that this movie, this story, would be relatable to a haunted attraction?
Well, just take the hedge maze. That'd be a perfect haunted attraction.
That'd be awesome.
Well, I think that the biggest hurdle for a while was that this is kind of, there's not a lot of physical horror in this movie except until the last couple of minutes when Wendy's running through the hotel, right? So how do you really adapt that kind of psychological horror feel into a maze? And for the second episode in a row, trick question, this was actually already adapted into a haunted attraction at Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando and in Hollywood. And if you ever watch the walkthrough videos of the houses, they're unbelievable. So these were featured at the 2017 Halloween Horror Nights events, which were in Orlando and Hollywood. They were featured alongside other properties like Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is a TV show. It's on Starz. Very good if you haven't seen it. American Horror Story, seasons 2 and 4, and Insidious. So they were in good company over there. Pretty cool stuff. I'll include the link to a walkthrough of the house in the episode description if you guys want to check it out. But that's pretty much all we have. That's pretty much all we have on The Shining. Catherine?
Can I talk about how if you did want to visit a real place that looks just like that hotel, that there's sister hotel that's in Mount Washington that we went to? Because,
thank you for remembering, yes.
I feel like beyond Halloween
What's the name of that hotel?
Nights, it's the Omni Mount Washington Resort.
So,
and it was amazing when we stayed there. It looked literally identical to when you walked through, like, you see the piece when Jack Torrance and his family is walking through the hotel for the first time, and all the staff is still there, and they're walking through, and there's these huge ceilings and these chandeliers and everything. It looks identical to the Omni Mount Washington.
It does. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's pretty insane, like, how similar it looks, because I just remember being like, oh my god, this is, like, straight out of The Shining.
Have you ever been there before?
No.
Mount Washington?
Oh, it's...
I've climbed Mount Washington.
So
in a vehicle.
the Omni
Nice.
Mount Washington...
But I've
Do you
never
have a
stayed
bumper
there.
sticker from that?
No, I wasn't cool enough to get one
Oh,
of those.
bummer.
The Omni Mount Washington, that hotel is super fucking old, and it's the sister hotel to the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, which is where Stephen King stayed when he was inspired to write The Shining. And if you look at any of the photos of the interior of the Stanley, and then, like, we can go to the Mount Washington Omni, it's just unbelievable how similar they look. And even to the movie, which was not based on that actual
It
hotel.
wasn't even in that hotel.
Yeah, it wasn't even in it.
filmed,
It's just-
but it was
it
still
looks-
very, 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 very similar.
Someone did
Yeah.
some scouting.
My God, high ceilings, just like long, empty, scary
the
hallways.
hallways,
and-
the piping,
we-
and
we-
oh my god, everything.
we stayed there because we actually got a couple of free nights from our wedding package, and we went there, and oh my God, we were walking around at night, and just like going into the lobby, the high ceilings, the animal heads mounted on the on like the walls and stuff, the huge fireplace. It's just unbelievable how much it looks like it.
But didn't they even say that like the lower levels were made to be built like a cruise ship almost?
Yeah, they did.
Like, so it looked like when you were in like a lower level and there was no windows in the hallway or anything, and it was just all rooms, like, you felt like you were in a boat. You didn't feel like you were in a hotel or anything. It was kind of weird.
Well, the main
'Cause you were
bar,
underground.
the main bar in
Right?
the hotel was it used to be a speakeasy back during Prohibition. So you'd go down there for drinks, and you're essentially in a cave that they carved out of the ground. And there's a part that's sectioned off by like a fence or whatever, where you can actually see where people would go and stand and like look for police, like looking out for them coming to like ruin their parade, or people that were drinking during Prohibition.
And they had other little windows like inside of the bar,
Yeah,
too.
it was awesome. It was unbelievable. So, Anyone have anything else in The Shining?
I think we covered it pretty well enough.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone cares anymore.
I mean, yeah.
We've talked enough.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. We if you haven't seen The Shining and you're listening to this, I
Check
honestly,
it out.
I don't know what you're doing, but go watch it. It's an all-time
stop
classic.
yerking it.
Stop yerking and go watch. Thank you guys so much for listening. We are America's Hometown Horror Podcast. We're based in Plymouth. We are a local podcast. We love supporting local businesses. You can find us and support us on a number of different venues.
Well, isn't every podcast local to its locale?
That's true.
Correct.
So
That's correct.
bit redundant.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay.
We're local to locals,
local
locales.
Okay, Squirrely Dan.
Sorry, is that just? I just thought it was
Local.
just a thought.
By the way, as of this recording, new Letterkenny available. If you guys are Letterkenny fans, you should be. If you're not,
To be
but
fair,
yeah. So you can find us. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can email us on Twitter. It's at Hometown Horror Pod. At Instagram, it's at Hometown Horror Pod, and on Gmail, it's at Hometown Horror Podcast. Send us some feedback. We hope to be on Spotify and iTunes soon, and if you do find us on there, thanks again. Please give us a review, a rate, and a subscribe. And
or just listen for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
We're not
just
asking
listen for
much.
5 minutes.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, for
listen.
the love of God, just do something.
We know we ramble. So if you are out here, you are listening. Thanks so much, and we look forward to talking to you on our next episode.
See you in
Will
hell.
be
Peace.
It Follows.
Or not to be confused with It Swallows
Oh, gross.
on Brazzers.
Unnecessary.
All right.